What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We're back here Monday. 5 games on the docket for the NHL streets. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. If you're not a member yet, head over to ShipItNation.com and join in. You've seen the SHIPIT Nation SaberSim collaboration, SaberSim. If you want access to that, I'll throw it up here on the screen. The best value is the $129 a month right there. Get you all access to our optimizer. We use SaberSim, best optimizer in the business. Get you access to late swap if you play late swap sports like NHL, like NBA. Total of 500 total lineups that it builds in a pool for you. So when you make your tweaks, it automatically, you don't have to rebuild and rerun multiple optimizer builds. It saves you a ton of time. I know many of you out there are probably 9 to 5. You got family, you got kids, you got wives, you got girlfriends, significant others out there. You can't be building lineups and running new builds all day long leading up to lock. Time is crucial there. So huge piece there. You get projections and ownership from SaberSim's side of things for all the sports that they offer, and gives you the ability to kind of average out ours versus theirs to get you kind of in the middle there. And then the contest flashback. You can go back on any contest on DraftKings or FanDuel. I'm a mainly DraftKings player, and look at some of the best players in the world. Look at who won the tournament, what their kind of team stack exposures were, what their lineup construction type, and just kind of really dive into their player pool and that to kind of take some pieces and bits from what they're using SaberSim for, or what they're using their optimizer for, and see how you can kind of apply that to your process there. Really cool feature there. You do need the $129 a month best value package to get access to the contest flashback. But if you're just an all-access person with Ship Nation over here, Shiptimizer is easily swapped over to SaberSim. Still gives you access to build 150 total lineups and late swap, and then all of the other stuff there. You do not get SaberSim's projection and ownership or the contest flashback there. One last time, pop this up on the screen there. These are real prices across the industry from different competitors. Doesn't matter who they are or where they are. But as you can see there, $99 a month gets you all access to all of our content and an optimizer to build 150 lineups. Obviously, if you jump up to the $129 a month, which is the best package, still cheaper than all over the industry, and get you complete access to everything I just talked about there. So no better place than now. MLB right around the corner here in 2 weeks. MLB and SaberSim is going to be a huge addition this year for the MLB season. I'm ready to jump in there in the MLB streets. You'll be seeing me here a lot on this channel. Me and my guy Hamwich will likely be on a bunch of these shows together here. But best optimizer in the business. Won me a ton of money so far already since transitioning over. But without further ado, let's jump in. Let's talk about the slate that we have at hand here. It's the NHL slate. There's 5 games. Should be a pretty quick stream overall, but at the end, I will screen share and show some of the SaberSim stuff. I did run a base build just so we can kind of get an idea of what it looks like there. First game on the docket, Buffalo and Boston. This should be an interesting game. This is my favorite game on the slate. I like both sides a lot here. I do have Boston tagged as kind of the best spot on the slate, my favorite stack of the slate. Just looking at the numbers, they are at home. I get it. Boston hasn't been great, but I will start with Casey Middleset is just way too cheap. Expect him to be mega chalk. 3,800. He's been solid since he's come over for the Bruins. You can pair him up with Vinny Lidzieri here, who's very cheap as well. 3,300. You get the second line correlation. Vinny does have power play correlation as well. So I like those two a lot. And then if you want to add in a Henry here from a punt demon, you get a really cheap 3-man stack from Boston. 3,800, 3,300, and then 3,200 there. So you get that entire stack for what, around 9 to 10K there. Play the big dogs if you want to play Tampa. If you want to play Toronto, who we'll get to in a little bit, that's an easy way to do it. I do see quite a bit of ownership going to these Bruins side. I like the Bruins. They are quote unquote the best spot for me on paper, looking at the metrics from the Sabres over the last 10 road games. They're 32nd in the league in actual goals against. They're 32nd in the league in expected goals against. So Definitely the best defensive team, or the worst defensive team, on the road this season. Their penalty kills sitting about 74%. They give up the 5th most power plays per game as well. So all things point to the Bruins being in a good spot here. Ownership showing that. Price tags are fairly reasonably outside of Pastrnak, who I do think is probably my favorite spend up on the slate. We'll get to, but I mean, at 3,300, you could definitely look elsewhere when he's projected to be higher owned than a guy like Austin Matthews, Nylander, things like that, and he's more expensive there. So take that for what it's worth. On the Sabre side, last time these two teams played back in January, it was 7-2. Sabres absolutely destroyed this Boston team at home in Buffalo. Now the game goes back to Boston here. Boston dictates the line matchups and things like that. Should affect it a little bit, but with this ownership all going to the Boston side, I really like the Sabre side as a sneaky spot. Tage Thompson, 8K, really, really, really good matchup. Probably my favorite center option on the slate. You can pair him with Alex Tuch, 6,700. Nice little 2-man stack there. If you want to add in Rasmus Dahlin, you get a 3-man fully correlated power play stack as well. And I think it's definitely an interesting play at this ownership there. You got some cheap guys as well that you can play from the Sabres. Ryan McLeod, Zucker, and Zach Benson are all fine options. Greenway at 3K, skate next to Tage and Tuck. Really, really good option there. And then you got 2 cheap guys, Bowen Byram and Owen Power in kind of that mid-tier, and then Matthias Samuelsson at 3,400 as a punt demon. That is a good play. On the Bruins side, Mason Lowery at 5K, really, really good option as well. And then Ian Mitchell at stone minimum, 2,500. Get power play time, definitely a good option there. So really, really good game to talk about to kick us off. And I think it's my favorite game on the slate. Game stack is viable here. I don't love game stacking too much, but on a 5-game slate, I think you could see if we get a 7-4 game, something like that, probably going to be needing the game stack here on tonight's slate. Next game on the slate here, Flyers and the Lightning, and this is going to be my hot take of the night here. Tampa is not projected to be very chalky here right now from looking at this, but when I show SaberSim here in a little bit at the end, I have to believe Tampa's going to come in much higher owned than what we have projected here at the start. Obviously, this is before noon here today, so we got about 6 hours left before lock. Ownership is definitely going to shift on these smaller slates, 5-game slates, etc. I do pay more attention to ownership in NHL than on a 10-game, 11-game slate because ownership does tend to spread unless we have obviously like a massive, massive favorite, something like that. But Tampa is getting slammed in optimizers. We'll show that in a little bit. I think they're fine plays, but I'm going to be fading Tampa here tonight. Flyers, looking at the metrics here, expected goals on the road this season, 2.88. That's 8th best in the league. They have a good penalty kill. They are 3rd best in the league in allowing high danger chances, which means obviously the opposition is at an advantage over the goalie. Those are usually when the goals tend to happen, is right when the other team has an advantage. High danger chances, Philly's good at limiting them. They have good Corsi metrics as well in terms of 5v5 scoring. So I'm fading Tampa here tonight. You can definitely play him with the rest of the crowd. Kucherov is fine at his price point. Braden Point, Cirelli, Jake Gunsel, Hagel, Bjorkstrand at 4.3 is still a little cheap for me. Getting top power play time. My favorite play from Tampa is going to be Victor Hedman. Really good matchup for him at 5,900, but overall, I just don't love it. Eric Cernak as a punt, 2,800, still a good option there. On the flip side, the Flyers are sneaky here. I don't love it, though. Vasilevsky is one of the best goalies in the league. Really good goalie option here tonight if you're spending up. I do want to get up to Vaz here at 8.2. So not really a spot where I'm going to get too much of this Flyers. Offensive-wise, at least in kind of single-entry teams and 3-max stuff and MME, I definitely think it's a good strategy, to go against some of those the Tampa pieces that are going to get hit into optimizer builds. On the Flyer side, I would probably stick with the second line with Sean Couture, Michkov, who's been really, really good since the All-Star break, and then Tippett. Those 3 guys I like a lot. And then Konechny is always a good option, especially at 6K. He sees over 20 minutes of ice time. He's on the power play. He's on the penalty kill. Obviously on the top line there. One of the best 2-way wings in the league there. So really good option there. And then if you need a punt guy, Jamie Drysdale at 3,600 on that top power play is a fine option as well. Next game on the slate here, Jackets and the Devils. I like to spot a decent amount here for the Devils. Jersey's playing pretty solid hockey right now as of late. Jake Allen should be in net. Jersey's won 3 of their last 4. They did drop their last game to Pitt, where they kind of got punched in the mouth, right? Pitt dropped 7 goals on them here. I do like this spot here for the Devils going against Jet Greaves in net here, who has been up and down. Greaves, I think, is fine at 7,100. Any goalie that's a punt option on the slate, especially at home, and only plus 115. Dogs, I think, is viable to play in tournaments. But on the Devils side, Cody Glass, really good value option here. He's been playing great hockey right now, 3,700. Pair him with Jesper Bratt, 6,300, who's playing great right now. I like those two quite a bit. Nico Hischier, Dawson Mercer, Timo Meier, Nosen, and then Luke Hughes are kind of the guys I'm looking at here for the Devils. On the Jackets side, Fantilli, Marchenko, and Vornikov, that top line is really good. They've been really good all year. I like that. And then Boone Jenner, one of the most slept-on guys in the entire NHL. He's finally back. He's been back for a couple weeks now, has looked pretty good, has been playing pretty solid hockey, and then he's got 2 good line mates with Chinikov and Kent Johnson. So I like lines 1 and 2 here for the Jackets. I like the Devils, those guys I talked about. Zach Werenski, if you want to spend all the way up at defense, I think he's a fine option always. Anytime he's on the slate, he's a multi-goal candidate, so you can definitely look there. But definitely a pretty solid game here to look at. I prefer the Devils side of things, but don't sleep on the Jackets. Last 2 games between these two this season. Last game, Devils did win 5-3 at home, and then they lost 4-2 earlier this season, back in December when the game was in Columbus here. So 1-1 on the season. Slight edge to the Devils here, but I do think Columbus is definitely a good dog spot here. Next game on the slate here, Toronto and the Flames. Toronto at home here. Expect them to be pretty popular here. Ownership is showing the same thing there. Last time they played the Flames this season, just back last month, they dropped 6 on them in Calgary. Now they're at home here. Dustin Wolf is probably the only thing going to hold this team back. If Dustin Wolf is on his A game, which he definitely can bring, that's going to hold the Leafs back. If he's not, and it's not the good Dustin Wolf, I think the Leafs are going to absolutely steamroll this team. Toronto also should be pretty fired up here, dropping back-to-back losses and losing 5 of their last 6. So Toronto's not playing great hockey right now. This could be a right the ship, get back spot here. They lost the last 2 home games, like I said, against Florida and Ottawa here. You could see them kind of lay it to the Flames here with a little added energy. So Austin Matthews, great option. John Tavares, great option. Nylander, really, really, really good option. He's destroyed the Flames, if I remember correctly. If my mind kind of remembers correctly, excuse me. I believe he had a hat trick in their first matchup when the game was in Calgary here. On that third line, should keep his ownership a little bit more in check. You get Scott Lawton there as a line mate and Jarnkrok. If you want to just absolutely punt off and go Jarnkrok, Scott Lawton and Nylander, I think that's definitely an interesting option and definitely interesting stack to go with. So I don't mind that. Looking at, let me just pull up the power play here because I do believe they did go with all forwards on that top power play. Yeah, so they do. Their top power play is Knees, Tavares, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. So they're going 5 forwards, no D-men on that top power play there. So Matthews, Tavares, Nylander, Marner, and Matthew Knees at 5,600. Those 5 guys are all great options here, in my opinion. Flames, not a great penalty kill. They give up a ton of power play opportunities. So that's where I would focus on for Toronto is the top power play guys. And then the second power play guys would be slightly behind that. Those guys are going to be cheaper, lower owned, etc. So if you have a chalky team, don't sleep on some of these second power play guys from the Leafs. But definitely like the top power play guys a lot. On the Flame side, Kadri's fine at 6,500. But he's seen this kind of ownership. I just don't think Joseph Woll is a good goalie, so I don't mind some of these Flame pieces. Don't love it. Jonathan Huberdeau is a walking flamethrower right now. He's great, 5,500. Pair him up with Kadri and Coronado. Probably just stick on that top line, but I will say The second line was Sharon Govich, Coleman, and Farabee is probably the preferred option because I do think that Kadri Huberdeau line does get the Austin Matthews assignment there. So probably assume them to chase around Matthews and that top line there for the Leafs. So slight boost to the Flames. They're probably my second favorite or my first favorite line if going to the Flames would be that Igor Sharangovich, Blake Coleman, Farabee line there. But good spot. And then you got Kevin Ball at 2,900 punt demon there. You can play Mackenzie Weegar, always a great option. And then Rasmus Anderson. Flames do have three pretty solid playable D-men here tonight on this slate. Last game on the slate here, Minnesota Wild, injury-riddled team of the season. My Minnesota Wild here are going to be at home against the Kings. It hasn't gone well for the Wild against the Kings this year. The Wild have 2 goals in they're trailing 9-2 in terms of the series split this year. 9 goals for the Kings, 2 goals for the Wild here. Darcy Kemper's playing incredible right now. This is a tough spot here for the Wild. I don't love this game from a DFS perspective. Minnesota with all these injuries, I think they're just going to slow it down. They're going to start playing the checking hockey game. They're going to play physical puck possession. They're just going to slow it down, right? Because that's their only hope. If they do go shorthanded, expect the Kings to score because Minnesota Wild penalty kill has been horrendous all season long. Second worst in the league, sub 70% penalty kill. They do limit power plays, though. That goes back to puck possession and just the way they play hockey, especially at home when they can dictate those matchups. I do think the Kings are decent play, especially at this projected ownership here. Gus is definitely a good goalie. Minnesota's tough spot to kind of attack on the road. But if you're looking for a sneakier team here, Kings do have expected goal numbers, good values there. Top 5 in the league in expected goals for on the road this season. So my preferred options here would be Kemp, Kuzmenko, Fiala, Byfield, and Kopitar. I like those guys quite a bit there. Second line, you can always give a big boost to on the road. I like second liners quite a bit. I would assume the Kopitar, Kemp, Kuzmenko line does get the most attention from the Wild. So that should lead to better matchups, better scoring opportunities here for the depth lines for the Kings. So I like Dan out, Trevor Moore, and Warren Fogle quite a bit at those salaries there. Kopitar at 5K is pretty ridiculous to see there. He just hasn't had the greatest year. Byfield's been really, really good. So at 5,400, I don't mind him. You got Drew Doughty and Brant Clark down there, two D-men you could play, and then Joel Edmondson at 2,900. Jordan Spence as well. At 2,500 are definitely vile. On the Wild side, you do get some value and some salary-saving guys. That top line with Rossi, Boldy, and Zuccarello. At this ownership, I don't love it here. If going to the Wild, I think grabbing some of these cheaper guys like Freddie Gaudreau, Nyquist, and Marcus Johansson, that second line, I like quite a bit. And then Ryan Hartman on that third line with Vinny Hinostroza and Foligno, I think are definitely good as well. That line is actually probably going to see the Kopitar assignment, I would assume, because that is their checking line. That is their defense line. Hartman with Foligno. Those two are very good defensively there. So really good, or not a really good, but a decent spot to end the night. It is a 5.5 total, lowest on the slate. Going to keep ownership in check. I think the Kings are pretty sneaky here. Gus is a good option in that. So is Kemper in that mid-tier. I like those guys quite a bit. That's all 5 games on the stone. Let me go ahead and show SaberSim here. Like I talked about, our partnership over here at SaberSim. If you're not a member yet, ShipItNation.com. Join now. You get in the package, $129 a month. You do get full access to SaberSim. I do have the max plan over here, which is the $297 a month right now. It does go up to, I believe, $330 after the first month. For the Sims package, gets you access to all the contest Sims, the autofill, direct fill feature. You can rank them by ROI. You can rank them by contest Sims, right? So if I go over here to contest Sims, I go to this and I go to ROI, it'll sort the lineups that show up here by ROI after I run the contest Sims here. So this is the kind of the best plan if you're playing a lot of money. If you're playing $1,000 a month or something in contests across different sports, I do suggest that package. But if not, probably doesn't make sense for you out there. Just speaking logically, economically. There, but this is the full package, as you can see here. Like I talked about earlier, Kings sneaky, right? Late night. And you're seeing that here when I adjusted these settings here. I just ran baseline build. I used our average projections with SaberSim and our average ownership to build these lineups. Philly popping up here. When I go ahead and just sort this back to Saber Score, let me just go back to Saber Score, small slates. Let's go 10K to 50K. You're going to see how this does swap over here and adjust the lineups and the stacks based on that. So this is kind of the baseline right here without the Sims package. Tampa getting slammed, like I talked about earlier. I don't love it. I hate Tampa here tonight. I think Erston's a really good play in GPPs, in tournaments, to leverage that. Could go south in a hurry, but it's a chance I'm willing to take on a 5-game slate here. Toronto, definitely had some interest in Toronto. Jersey, I like. Boston Buffalo game is my favorite game. They're down the board a little bit. And then the Kings way down the board. The Flames way down the board. Columbus way down the board. So I think Columbus and the Kings are my two sleepier teams, sneakier teams here tonight. And the team I'm taking the biggest fade on, the biggest stand on here is going to be these Tampa guys. I'd rather play the Leafs at similar price points there. So this is kind of a way you can just run a baseline build, right, and get an idea of what the industry and what the competition is going to go like looking at this. So that's kind of how I use it. And then I'll make different tweaks and I'll look at what kind of the Sims look like. So obviously NHL 30K, the main flagship lotto tournament here. If I sort these lineups by win rate, you'll see what this kind of do to the stacks, and you'll see who's the highest leverage opportunity and the highest leverage stacks here based on what the field's going to do. And you see Kings pop up to the top. So automatically right there, I do have more interest in the Kings just because it's good leverage opportunity. I also like it. Kings have destroyed Minnesota all year too. So I like the Kings quite a bit. Tampa's still up there, obviously, but you see Philly comes way up the board. When you do that, Jersey, Columbus comes way up the board as well. Who goes down the board? Toronto, obviously Buffalo, Calgary, Minnesota fall to the bottom there. So that's just a couple things you can do there real quick with SaberSim. Very, very powerful tool here. If I want to, like I said, you can go back, contest flashbacks here. Let me just go back to March 3rd here. Go back to the NHL, right? And you can go here and click on contest, and you can pull up any contest in terms of the lineup review feature. You do have this with the $129 a month package via SHIPITNation.com. Once this loads here, pull it up and you can go through the leaderboard. You can go through the users. And like I said, so if I go through, let's go to the poke check, right? The $5 contest. If I click the poke check here, it's going to update over here. If I click on, computer's working a little slow. If I go to leaderboard here, I can see the leaderboard, the lineups, but more importantly, if I go to users, right, I can sort by who won the most, right? So I can see this guy had 7 entries in it. He won over $5,000, right? I can look at who had 20, who had 40. I can sort by the max enters, right? Here's the max enter guys. I can sort by average winnings. I can sort by profit. And if I just hit this plus sign, it'll pop him up. I can go over to projections here. I can look at his stack exposure right here. So you see 4-3, 3-3, 4-2. Talk about this all the time in the Discord. Those are the main stacks that I focus on here. Go to team stacks. You can see what the team stacks look like. You click on players here. Let me just collapse this contest here so it's bigger. You can see max exposure, sort by that. You can look at what the projections were, etc. So I mean, you can see everything here in the contest review. So highly do suggest, again, $129 a month value does get you that access to that lineup review feature. Everything else I showed on there. If you want the Sims package, like I showed, where I sorted by contest Sims for that flagship tournament, it is $297 a month for the introductory period there. But the best optimizer with the best content provider in the industry, all in tandem, makes you the one-stop shop to have success with DFS. Spend less in content, play more in DFS contests. But appreciate everyone for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'll be back tomorrow again right here on this channel, breaking down the big slate tomorrow as well. And then, as always, MLB season right around the corner here. I believe in about a week. We'll be back here covering MLB for the entire season with the MLB crew. We got our meeting here tomorrow at SHIPIT Nation to go over the content schedule and the breakdown and everything like that. But all those shows are free right here on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck tonight in those contests. Hope to see those SHIPIT Nation logos at the top. For myself, Nadesify, let's ship it.